I recognize one silent call as we all form one dark flame. Incinerate! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the S1E11 episode. And today I'm going to cover the birthday of my role model, the one and only Mr. C.M. Punk. One of the reasons I'm covering this birthday is because it kind of reminded me of my backstory in life, where I actually became straight edge because of him. Exactly, well, not exactly next month, will be in concrete exact. 15 years ago, I became straight edge, and for me, it has been one of the best decisions I ever brought in my life. And I'll tell you a little bit of a story before we go into, and I'm going to go on a mini rant. Don't worry, I won't take away much of your time. The point is, so back in when CM Punk made his debut in WWE on August 1st, 2006. So I started watching, but back then I was a more of a John Cena fan back then until I supported like John Cena. I started following from 2005 to Royal Rumble 2008, where I kind of distanced myself. But that's a story for another time. And all the people I was watching back then as a high school kid, he was just still in the brackets, and I used to watch like Batista, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and other superstars. And there was him who was doing these complete separate promos that other people are doing back then in WWE. And all of a sudden, I was, back then when I was in high school, I used to promote this alcoholic every weekend, all of the time, but youth craziness, as we love to say in my country. So when I turned 19, and there was this moment, like it was the last day of high school, which is the greatest irony. So the last day of high school, I kind of missed the gypsies with the troubadours, where we're going to celebrate the last day of high school. It was the plan. I actually planned the day before to get drunk and just to enjoy my time, finally deserve my time off. And something along the way, so something that they broke in me, that I severely got pissed. And when I say pissed, I mean I haven't been that angry since, I don't know, man. I think I felt like the Miz when he was explaining his rat completely taking over his body when he was doing his promo on Daniel Bryan like 9 years ago. So anyway, I kind of felt when the entire atmosphere and something felt and kept off. So I kind of looked around and I felt like really severely triggered that there was something wrong. And to this day, 15 years later, I still cannot figure out what the fuck happened. So I'm just looking around and I feel like really resentful, really rebellious alike. That's something triggering me on that day, where I just decided, nah, fuck you all. I'm becoming straight edge on the last day of high school. And that has been a trait ever since that day in the May. I can't remember which date. And somewhere along the way, I kind of, but before I fully pledged, became straight edge, I went back and forth with myself from May to October, before I went to university. And back then, I went to those 5 months, 5.5, 6 months, back and forth with myself. I wedged my pros and cons on and off, on and off. And when it was time for me to actually decide whether I'm going to become straight edge or not, I just said, let's go all in. And to put you in another pre-context and context of the situation, being straight edge back then, and now it's not so much, kind of people have gotten used to it. I mean, not just for me, but for other people not to drink. But back then, like 2011, 2012, and 13, and so forth, not drinking in my country, that was, dude. I wish I could bring you back in time to see all the disappointed looks, all the what the fucks, and the unpleasant and awkward looks people gave to themselves when I used to refuse to drink with them or smoke. And it was like the most of the mainstream questions I would get asked was what I was going to die from. Why am I sick? Because in this tradition, when you go to university, you're kind of expected to become the default alcoholic person, just to go with the flow with the people and blah 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 and whatnot. But somewhere along the way, there was this part of me, on the not just unconscious but the unconscious part, where I kind of felt that wasn't doing my thing. I wasn't that person anymore. because at 20 now you're kind of the turnover as a person when you kind of move forward and you form like a new version of yourself, new ideas, new ideology, new personality. You upgrade yourself and you're no longer the same person like just like a year and 2 years ago. So point is, with that decision of mine, that was the price I had to pay at university. So I'm talking that in those 4 years at university, the number of times I went out with my colleagues, and just to hang out and express our opinions about either like Sorabendia or anything in particular, like music, the number of times is zero. So that's only because I refuse to drink and not to succumb to the being part of the sheep herd. So it kind of pissed me off at the start, where I kind of noticed the pattern, and until somebody, I'm not going to mention his name, somebody in particular told me, "Gee, dude, you gotta pay attention. You gotta stop triggering people, and they avoid you because you laugh out too loud and you speak English all the time." Even though my major is English language and literature, so for some reason, don't tell your colleagues to speak English. It's against the law of insanity. So anyway, with all that said, and being back then when I received that information, I kind of, my system, my body in it, and my brain with the connection kind of went. And when I went back to my flat, I kind of went back like when I'm alone, and I was like, man, what the fuck is wrong with these people? So what's wrong with me? I just don't want to drink. It's my right. But as the time had passed by, and I started to see that bridge had already been burnt in the first place, and there was no going back, and it was pointless and fruitless, I kind of embraced it and went with the awkwardness, and just I kind of disparallel. And then in late 2013, I kind of met a new group of people, and I started to dress a little bit better, with the shirts and the jeans and the watch and blah blah. You know how it goes. And I kind of did the one thing. I refused to dress like that for the university. I just went like the most casual as I could because I didn't give a fuck. But when I went back to my hometown, it was all like suits and tie, which was a very fucking amazing thing. And somewhere along the way, I was still watching CM Punk and his presence. And I don't want to go back how many times I hated the treatment that he received. But anyway, this one event in 2011, the Money in the Bank, the most famous one before the pay-per-view came to a head or to a play, he gave one of the best speeches in June 27, 2011 in Las Vegas, where he basically had said everything I felt at the time, because the stale scene in WWE at the time was as retarded and as boring as a sleep fest. The only positive thing about in that godforsaken PG retarded era was the Nexus and maybe CM Punk's presence, because anything besides that, it was reserved for Cena. And yes, of course, the first and the most light to Cena versus The Rock, and the once in a lifetime that should have been done once in a lifetime, but Vince loves to suck money and something else besides just living it once in a lifetime. But somewhere along the way, when I watched the pay-per-view of Money in the Bank, and CM Punk in Chicago resembled the atmosphere of Partizan Belgrade, and at the time, the atmosphere in 2011 for the Partizan was kind of starting to dwindle off. It wasn't that much enraging, it wasn't that much as with the fire, but that event itself kind of reminded me what I believed in and my circular of the systems, what to embrace and to become a new person. And when I saw him entering, and one of the things that I will still remember for as long as I live is when Cena entered. So that's comparison when the internal derby is between, let's say, Partizan is the host and the Red Star is, I mentioned their name, the other club is the guest. Now, Cena had received the same way they received those amount of boos, and it kind of reminded me of the Eternal Derby, where Punk was the Partizan Belgrade and Cena was the other club. And that entire match was the entire symbolism when you look at Punk's movement and his entire arsenal of moves and the entire psychology of the match. you could see that he was trying to bring down the system, and Cena being in the system. And basically, at the time, Cena represented everything I hated about the other club: the entire presentation, the entire fakeness, the entire being loved by the mainstream media. And the CM Punk was always the shunned and the black sheep and the scapegoat for being the bad guy in the stories. And when I watched him, and I love how he defeated him. Sorry for the spoilers for the future kids. When he defeated him, that was where I said Partizan is going to win in the future. And some 14 years later, so that it actually came to fruition in a way. We're still waiting for the EuroLeague Championship, which is going to happen. We have to manifest and believe in it. So the point is that CM Punk was always somewhere along the way someone in the brackets who I look up to, and to become that version where you can just be free of the people's opinions and just be better and don't even pay attention to anybody who tells you otherwise. And along the way at university, not only did I become straight edge, I found my life calling of being a writer. I'm going to cover that in some of the future videos. And with that connection, I didn't need anything else except just to regularly show up at university, listen to some lectures, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't that interesting for some lectures in the first place. And this, in this case, a context where he now turns 47, and you have to understand that I have watched him since I was 15, and for these 19 past years or so, and 20, it's still so amazing that he has kept his integrity and his system and beliefs. And it has inspired me so much that I refuse to not become straight edge, to go alcoholic or whatever. And that fire, the same fire he presented and he represented in his promos, kind of inspired me for me the same way to speak my language, no matter who gets offended, no matter who gets triggered. It's all about integrity. And when I have to look back and see how proud I am of just keeping no as the answer, because in this century, in this climate, too many people are not saying no to some things they should in the first place, because it doesn't benefit you, and it's actually an illusion, as I keep mentioning. The Older World is staged by William Shakespeare Turkovic, and that's always going to be for the rest as long as we live, blah, blah, blah. And I also have to consider that when it comes to himself, and you have to do those things, and at the price of being ignored, at the price of being gaslighted, at the price of remaining alone in your battle. So that's the case that you should be going the same way CM Punk has been going. So you guys probably think, oh, he has a lot of money and blah, blah. Even in those areas of the very rare thin air up there in the success, you are still alone. Don't even think you have friends. At that stage of success on the top of the mountain, the entire world becomes solipsism, my friend, unfortunately. So I know I mentioned solipsism a couple of times in my videos. I'm going to cover it relatively soon. The point is, at the top, there are no friends, there are no lovers, there are no acquaintances, there is nobody but you. And you remain alone, and anybody else is just a fraction, a figment of imagination, a shadow of those people. So don't think if you're up in the mountains that you have somebody. No, you don't. You only have yourself to work with and grow with. Some other people up and down, up and around about, they might come around back and forth, la la la, but not really. And in today's climate, if you can count your close friends only with your fingers, you're blessed and success. But in order for you to understand that basically, like, there is no like a fundamental difference when it comes to the friendships up and down. They're still going to betray you like Judas betrayed Christ, and etc. But the point is, you have to keep going as much as you can for the rest of the time around your life, but keep growing and keep understanding yourself. Because in order for you to understand yourself, you have to denounce the old yourself. Everything that you've done, everything that you've considered like good and viable for your ideology, you have to shed the skin of a snake and get a new one, because you cannot remain the same person especially in these spans of 15 years. And I'm proud to say I've changed a lot, and I've learned a lot, and I understood how to go through life and to believe in myself. Because when I was working on that side quest, or actually, apologies, main quest of believing in yourself, not too many people were around me, And the myth that was created at the time, I always had the self-confidence. No, dude, it took me a while to get the self-confidence on my back and to believe in myself, which is something people are trying to take away from you. And especially in my country, taking away your individuality is one of the main courses, because the society, the illusion, loves to say, do what you want to do, be yourself. But when you actually yourself, then the critics become always the critics, and they're always like, oh, not that way, oh my god, he's so crazy, the stuff like that. They like to make fun of you in the comments. But the point is that for you, you have to endure those lashes, you have to endure those storms, the same way I endured endless XYZ questions why I don't drink, and I always answered with some XYZ reason. It's the If you're planning on being straight edge, you just to get used to those questions for as long as you live. It's not like going to be like a brief period like antibiotics. No, forever. The main key ingredient is forever. For as long as you live and you're straight edge, people are going to ask you the same question over, and over. So, miseria cantare. So it's all about individuality. So you have to believe that no matter, even if your friends ditch you, even if they denounce you, like Peter denounced the Christ 3 times before the rooster crowed, that you have to still remain the same. So even if they ask you who you are, you have to be yourself. So what this actually boils down to, this center, is how Punk made me realize that you have to make the mirror. So in his documentary in 2012, Punk said that it reminded me of Piper. Him reminded him of Piper, and he connected with Piper in the same way I'm connecting with Punk, because nobody likes me. They make fun of me because the way I dress, and they don't like it. Blah blah. Doesn't point. But the thing is that in individuality, it's all about sacrifices that you have to make. So don't think, as I mentioned in the previous video about revolution, those things are very connected. If you don't believe me, there is no, you cannot make omelets without breaking some eggs. The same way you cannot become a better version of yourself if you don't denounce some friendships and move on. That's my main story, moving on. So when people start, the former friends start to bother the fuck out of you and go like, oh, dude, we should get wasted and blah, blah, just say no, dude. Because you're not that person anymore. And for you to get drunk, so what? You're just going to be like offline from yourself, like a one night only. And then when you wake up in the morning with a headache, you're still going to go back to yourself, not all self. Sorry. I wanted to say you're going to go back to yourself. And there is no point in alcohol. It's an illusion. So, especially I have to mention the girls, avoid at all costs the guys that love to say, I can only be honest when there is alcohol involved. Those are the red flag motherfuckers. Fucking avoid them like the plague. When the guys are like as transparent and straightforward as fuck, that's your guy that you go to. The guy that doesn't hide and doesn't bullshit you, just tells you to your face. And don't go with the, oh no, I can only tell the truth when I'm drunk. Ha ha ha. No, don't listen to those cocksuckers. They're the red flag. Fucking walk away. Because if they need alcohol to tell the truth, imagine what else they're hiding from you when they're just sober. And so, because the people have mistaken this concept of the straightforwardness in the 21st century, and now they believe themselves that under alcohol, only when you're drunk as fuck, it's only counts that when you tell how you feel for another girl and blah, blah, instead of not wasting time to get drunk and just tell her straightforward, because you have nothing to lose. Losing about the girl, it's a bullshit, my friend. It's an illusion. So think about it. So even if you tell, I know there is this like ongoing meme, the worst that she can say no, and then they make it the extreme version of it, of the meme. But listen, nothing to lose. If she says no, fucking move on and find another girl. That's the point of being, stay to your principles. But when your principles, you're kind of triggering the other people, as Hermann Hesse would say in his quote. So I want to say that about individuality, it's all about if it takes time and discipline. Because in these 15 years, there had been times where I wanted to give up and not become straight edge, become the stereotypical southerner who is an alcoholic, degenerate, illiterate, and doesn't know how to create the formulated sentences because it's going to ease at people, because the people from the south should be mentally disabled individuals who don't know anything else to say but themselves, especially if they're under the influence of the alcohol. Do you see the fucking point? And no, when they offered me the stereotype, I told them, no, go fuck yourself, you fucking brain-dead piece of shit. I am not an alcoholic degenerate. I'm a straight edge, and I'm better than you. Which it actually made people pissed a lot, because their stereotypes, their illusions have been broken as the glass. So Now you have to be. Now it's the fucking change. The same way they say in Black Bombardier, one of my favorite Yugoslavian movies. Now you have to make the shift. Now you have to make the change. Now you have to believe in yourself. Don't fucking even waste time on acquaintances and friends. They don't fucking matter, because you yourself, when you're watching this, and if you're going through some bullshit, faggot ass bullshit, and they're not there, they're not going to be there in the first place. If they're too busy, there is no such thing as fucking busy. It's all about the matter of priorities you have to experience by yourself. If they are not your priority, and in that case, if you're not their priority, I'm sorry to tell you, my friend, you have to find somebody else. As Franz Kafka said, I had my friends, they passed away, thank God. I made new friends, I'm sorry. So in this case, the context is all about duration of your beliefs. Now, principles, when you have principles, the society itself will try to buck you. The society itself will try to bring you down, isolate you, gaslight you, give you the madman, t-shirt. But the thing is, in today's society of 21st century, like, most of the people in billions and plus are insanely schizophrenic as fuck. And now you being portrayed as the madman, that's kind of for kids as it comes to that psychological behavior. So the point is that you have to even go through fire, even have to go through anything, but don't listen to the retarded friends. They are illusions. They are just NPC people. They don't exist in your head. They only exist in your head, because if they're not there, they will probably never be there. You have to find new people. That's my point. So, happy birthday to Mr. CM Punk. Proud to be straight edge for 15 years and counting. And I know I promised 2 videos ago it's going to be tall in blood, but I'm going to do it during this week. So today we're in the birthday and just chill out mode. Thank you for coming to this channel. S1E11, S1E12 will be soon, and that's going to be the finish of the first season. So probably I'm going to make episodes in 12 episodes. S1E11, and now I'm going to finalize this season with the Tall in Blood during next week. So thank you for coming for this channel. Enjoy, become straight edge. Christ is king. Tell people to go fuck themselves, and don't settle for less ever in your life. Whatever you do, never settle for NPC friends. Never settle for low money. Never settle for censorship. Never settle for anything. Because at the end of the day, it's you that matters in the mirror, and there is nobody to appreciate you and celebrate you. Never give a flying ass nigga fuck. Believe in yourself in the mirror, because Christ is king. And in the name of Christ, we shall resurrect, and we shall become ourselves once again.